بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت تجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. I praise Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. I ask Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala to grant us the sincere intention. May Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala allow us to draw close to Him in status, Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, to seek His reward, to earn His acceptance, His good pleasure, and to seek Him Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. It is extremely important for us to make every moment we get beneficial as much as we can. It is wise for us not to waste our time. And oftentimes, we're not conscious of how much time we waste, how much time that we spend in matters that will not make us winners on the day of judgment. In matters that we will actually live to regret on the day of judgment. So I remind myself and I remind all of you to be extremely cautious with how you spend your time. And one of the best ways to spend your time is to spend it learning knowledge that will teach you about your Lord Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. And once you learn about your Lord Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, inshallah, that knowledge will help you understand His right upon you, which is that you worship Him Subhanahu wa Ta'ala and you associate nothing with Him. In addition to that, you do the actual thing of worshiping Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala with sincerity, with love, and by that, inshallah, Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, you will be accepted by Him, Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. You would get the reward from Him. You would draw closer to Him. So the purpose of learning the belief about Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala is so all those things follow, and you will be a winner on the day of judgment. When the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was asked about which deed is the best, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he mentioned that it was the Iman in Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala and His Messenger. He was asked, which deed is the best? He said, Al-Imanu billahi wa rasulih. And in another narration, he said, Al-Imanu لا شك فيه. Having the sound belief, the sound faith, with no doubt. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentioned in the Quran, إنما المؤمنون الذين آمنوا بالله ورسوله ثم لم يرتابوا. That the real believers, those who the description of Iman really fits, are those who believe in Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala and His Messenger, and thereafter they never doubt. There is no doubt in their belief. And when you're living in a time of fitna, sedition, which we live in this time, it is important that your connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be strong, be unshakable. So hence, when one learns about the belief, one is developing that knowledge that's going to make one steadfast and firm. Yesterday, I was watching a interview of someone that I met. It's a famous person. Among those who have convictions that contradict the convictions of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah. And he was talking about the divisions among those people who follow his path and how they separated and fell apart. And what came to my mind while I was listening to the person, because I met him and he's generally a good person. But what came to my mind when listening to him was that your whole discussion is a sign of one's absence in the connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That when everything is built around human beings, when your whole practice of the religion is built on the who's who in Islam, this is a serious problem, because our practice should be built upon our belief and our conviction in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who sent Sayyiduna Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam to guide us to him. So at the end of the day, that is your biggest concern. Your biggest concern is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Am I accepted by Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala? And if you're accepted by Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala, and then there are those conditions which must be met to let you know that you're accepted, then the rest of the stuff doesn't matter, truly. And as African American people, and others are included, but I'm speaking specifically, these matters affect us a lot, and they affect others. I get some messages and emails from people all around the world who are suffering from groups that deviate from the path of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah. And so people are suffering. But I know in our inner cities, it's a major issue. And a lot of African Americans are suffering from these things. And my advice to all of us is develop a connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a fortress that cannot be penetrated. If you have a strong connection to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala and you're not connected to the creation, you are a winner. So I want us to reflect on what we covered so far and put it in context to what I'm talking about between the things people are faced with in this world and all the challenges. And you're going to have challenges. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created death and life to test us, to try us, to see which one of us, for us to know, are best in our deeds. This is the life. This is a test. But when you're connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's easy to pass the test. The test becomes easy, facilitated for you. Imam al-Ghazali radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he mentioned in his book Minhaj al-Abidin ila Jannati Rabbil Alameen. This is a very important book that I would suggest you have, especially when you're trying to get a relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Minhaj al-Abidin of Imam al-Ghazali, the path of the worshipful servants to the towards the paradise of the Lord of the world. He mentioned some obstacles that we face. And among those obstacles, he mentioned the creation, the world, the shaitan, and one's nafs, one's desires, one's ego. But these are obstacles on the path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But he mentioned al-khalq, the creation, and how sometimes we are too occupied with the creation, always busy with the creation, right? Busy with the creation. And I want you to think about the creation. What is al-khalq? What is the creation? The creation is everything other than Allah. I want you to think about something I'm getting ready to tell you, because it relates to what we've been talking about. So Imam al-Ghazali, rahimahullah, mentioned that the creation is an obstacle on your journey to Al-Jannah, which is your meeting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, al-khalq. And we mentioned that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said in the hadith related by Imam al-Bukhari. And to me, when I reflect on this hadith, and I want you to write it down, you should have it already in your notes, but I want you to reflect on it. And in terms of what Imam al-Ghazali said, that among the obstacles on the path is al-khalq, the creation. He said, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, كان الله ولم يكن شيء غيره. He said that Allah existed eternally in Al-Azal, before there was any creation, and there was nothing else. That's a powerful hadith, very strong. كان الله ولم يكن شيء غيره. That Allah existed eternally, and there was nothing else. And we learn about this in the Quran. As Allah said, وَهُوَ الْأَوَّلُ وَالْآخِرُ. That Allah, He's al-awwal, the one who has no beginning to his existence. And He is al-akhir, the one whose existence does not come to an end. I want you to put those three things in your mind. That statement of Allah, وَهُوَ الْأَوَّلُ وَالْآخِرُ. And He is Al-Awwal الَّذِي لَا بِدَايَةَ لِوُجُودِهِ. The one who has no beginning to His existence. Al-Akhir, He's the last. الَّذِي لَا نِهَايَةَ لِوُجُودِهِ. The one who has no ending to His existence. And the Prophet ﷺ, he said, كَانَ اللَّهُ وَلَمْ يَكُنْ شَيْءٌ غَيْرُ. Allah existed and there was nothing else. From the believer who reflects on this with a tadabbur, what tafakkur, he ponders, he reflects, he thinks about these attributes of Allah, the attribute of al-qidam and the attribute of al-baqa, the attribute of al-qidam and the attribute of al-baqa. The attribute of al-qidam means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has no beginning. So He is al-qadim, al-awwal, al-azali, the one who has no beginning to His existence. Al-baqa, the attribute which indicates that Allah has no end. He's al-baqi, al-aqir, al-da'im, no end to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Which should tell us something. It is an ishara to something, an indication that everything other than Allah is not necessary. Allah. Everything other than Allah is not necessary. And everything that we benefit from in the world or that cause us harm in the world among the creation, its existence is in need of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everything relates to the creation comes through the divine act of creation, of creating by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I just want you to ponder on that. Everything in the creation is not necessary. Everything in the creation is not necessary. And everything in the creation is in need of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Creator. All of the actions and doings of the creation is created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for a wisdom. So since that is the case, the wise believer always realizes that the whole affair is about Allah. And everything in the creation is temporary. Every moment, every situation, every interaction is temporary. And the wise person doesn't get caught up or wrapped up in something that is temporary. Rather, the wise person is the one who looks to be in contact, to be connected, and to be involved with that which does not come to an end. Allah. So I want you to think about those attributes. The attribute of al-qidam, the attribute of al-baqa, Allah not having a beginning, and Allah not having an end. And the name of Allah, al-awwal, al-qadim, al-azali, al-baqi, al-akhir, Ad-Da'im, all of those names, they indicate these attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah told us about his names, وَلِلَّهِ الْأَسْمَاءُ الْحُسْنَى فَادْعُوهُ بِهَا, that Allah has the most beautiful names, so call him by them. And we should think about this. So with Imam al-Ghazali mentioning to us that people are an obstacle for the people is the creation, if that person realized that the creation doesn't have a real reality. What do I mean it doesn't have a real reality? Because it was created. It came from the state of non-existence into existence. And it's going to go from the state of existence into the non-existence, except that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala willed. So there's no need being wrapped up into that. In other words, the heart should always be connected to al-awwal, al-akhir, even while dealing with al-muhdath, al-makhluq, right? The heart should always be attached to the one who has no beginning and the one who has no end, even while one is dealing with the created event. And everything other than Allah is a created event. So among the creation is coronavirus. Coronavirus is a creation. It's a creation. And it's only going to last for a period of time. And it's going to go away. Your job is a creation. It's only going to last for a period of time, then it's going to go away. Your house, your wealth, your belongings are all creations. They're only going to last for a period of time, then they're going to go away. Your friends, your family is only going to last for a period of time, then they're going to go away. You should reflect on this. All of the creation for a period of time, then it's going to go away. Sayyidina Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he mentioned in one of his statements, he said, love whatever you will, love whatever you want, but one day you will depart from it. I don't think we think about that enough. Love whatever you will, one day you're going to depart from it. That's it. And most of us have had relationships with things or with people that we were so immersed and engaged and in love and attached to that thing or that person or that event. And now, after some time, we may not be having that thing. It may not exist anymore. We may have lost it. It may have been destroyed. Or that person we were enamored with, we were in love with, that's over. It's the nature of the world. Yet, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has always been there through all of that. And even when all of those things and those people have passed on to the next stage or to annihilation, whatever was for those things or that people, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is still with you. As Allah said, وَهُوَ مَعَكُمْ أَيْنَمَا كُنْتُمْ. He is with you wherever you may be. In terms of his knowledge, he sees you, he hears you, he's aware of you. He's constantly managing your affairs. He's constantly managing your affairs. Even when you're screwing it up, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, al-Hakim, the wise one, is putting things the way they need to be. Constantly showing you the route to him. Al-Mudabbir li Jami'il Makhluqeen, the one who arranges and takes care of all the creation. Allah. And his tadbir is mutlaq. It's absolute. It's not conditioned by anything. Allah is constantly managing our affairs. Each one of us should look at our lives. We should. Because people think of Aqidah as just theoretical. No, it's not. It's real. Because all of these things that I mentioned relate to our life. When I'm talking about Allah not having a beginning and Allah not being in a place and Allah not having a location and Allah not being ascribed with howness, all that stuff is get a concept in your mind, a belief in your heart that allows you to function properly in the world. That's the end result, so that you can travel to Allah. Like, if imagine you approach the world with a sound aqidah, and you read the Quran, you know Allah has sifatul baqa, the ever is everlasting. His existence does not come to an end, which indicates something. What? That everything other than Allah, in and of itself, it deserves the attribute of al-fana, annihilation, coming to an end. Except that which Allah gave the attribute of al-baqa, gave the attribute of everlasting. So like paradise and hellfire, they don't come to an end. In and of themselves, they are created so they can intellectually have an end. But Allah will for them to be everlasting, right? So when you realize that everything you deal with, everything you come in contact with, you realize that it's a creation and it's going to come to an end. And you know that it is given to you as a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bring you closer to him by using it as he ordered you to use it, as the Prophet ﷺ ordered you to use it, and it's a benefit for you. You deal with everything totally different. Your whole concept about life is different. So if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives me a wife or gives you a husband, you know that this is not forever, it's a moment in time. And through my wife or through my husband, I'm going to earn the pleasure of Allah. I'm going to draw closer to Allah through being a good husband, for being a good wife, for using my husband and or wife to raise a family and children that will worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to help build a strong family that would in turn help build a strong Muslim community. Your mind starts thinking like that, and you work hard for the time you have that husband or that wife to do those things. So we don't got time to argue and fight, even with our spouses. We got work to do. We don't got that much time. So I don't know how much time we got, but whatever time we got, we better use it wisely. And we better use each other so that both of us will be winners on the day of judgment. SubhanAllah. Imagine the one who thinks like that. How they deal with the spouse. And that's why Shaykhuna al-Buti rahimahullah, he said the relationships of the spouses, and this is when one is connected to Allah, the relationship between the spouses should not be one of rights. Wow, think about that. The relationship between the spouses should not be one of rights, hukuk. It should be everyone fulfilling rights and not be concerned about their rights. It should be everyone fulfilling the rights, meaning of others, and not being concerned about their rights. The husband should be, let me fulfill all the rights of my wife. I'm not worrying about what she does for me. And the wife should be, let me fulfill the rights of the husband, and I'm not worrying about my rights. And that way, is the microphone clear, or is it my voice that's muffled? I guess it's clear. So here, that's the kind of relationship you want with your children. Yesterday, my daughter, alhamdulillah, she's 18 years old. She graduated from high school. And I was looking at her, and as I was looking at her, walking across that stage, and I was looking at many of the other people, hundreds of students, and she was among the only one, and there may have been others that I missed, but they're very few. You can count them on your hand, who was covered. She had on her hijab, she had on her Muslim clothes. And I said to myself, and she's not the only Muslim in the school. I said to myself, as hard as it is raising a young teenager in this society, she's still proud of her Islam. And I thought to myself, like, subhanallah, we did to the best of our ability, her parents, myself, and her mother, to raise a Muslim girl. You know how difficult that is in this time? Extremely hard. That she's a 18-year-old young lady on her way to college, and she still thinks about Islam. That's difficult in this society because she's surrounded, and she's not perfect. She's surrounded by evil, by people who's doing all kinds of things. And despite all of that, she still recognized her Allah. SubhanAllah. And I know how hard that is. But something instilled, and we talk about it all the time, just remain Muslim. Don't forget Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's extremely important. Someone asked me, she's going off to college. Do you worry about her? I said, I just worry about her remaining Muslim. That's my biggest concern. I ain't worried about all that other stuff. I want her to remain connected to Allah. If she has that, even if she wavers, even if she goes through the challenges of young adulthood, she'll always return. And that's what we want to instill in each other. No matter what we go through, when we realize Allah is al-awwal, al-akhir, the first without a beginning, the last without an end. And our return is to Allah. Our beginning came from Allah. Our end will be back to Allah. As long as we keep that in our mind, no matter what we go through in this creation, we'll never be distracted. Even if we slip, even if we fall, Allah. But this doesn't apply for her, but for my own self. Because we all get challenges. And then relying on Allah, because realizing we have no power except that which Allah has given us. We are weak as human beings. We will succumb to the world to the dunya, to the creation, to shaitan, to our nafs, except that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protects us. That's it. That's the reality. We need Allah. And guess what? فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ غَنِيٌّ عَنِ الْعَالَمِينَ. Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala certainly is free of any need of anything in the creation. But the creation, all of us are in need of Allah. We are in need of Allah. So in our mind, we always got to be thinking about how we can be connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And through Aqidah, we learn about Allah. That's how we learn about Allah. That's how we learn that Allah has no beginning, Allah has no end, and Allah is free of need and we are in need. It's through learning our Aqidah. It is through learning that. And when we learn that we are in need and Allah is free of need, then that gives us the indication that we should have a tawakkul on Allah. We should rely on Allah, as Allah told us, وَالتَّوَكَّلْ عَلَى الْحَيِّ الَّذِي لَا يَمُوتُ. Rely on the one who is alive and does not die. There's a connection there. There's a connection. That you have a tawakkul, and he is al-hayy, the alive, la yamut, meaning he doesn't end, meaning he doesn't die, he doesn't come to an end. So he will always fulfill your needs if you rely on him, not on yourself. SubhanAllah. Someone says, why learn Aqidah? That's why you need to learn Aqidah. And when you learn this, you'll be depressed. You're not going to be depressed. You may get a little rocked a little bit, but at the end of the day, Allah. Allah. That's why you study his names and his attributes. So you realize how to function, how to really live. You know? Someone asked me, my brother, he's a crazy guy. He watches my life. He's my older brother. And he's like, how do you live the way you live? I said, I trust in my Lord. I don't worry about nothing else. And why he acts that way? Because to him, I don't live in the box of the American society. You know, you get up, have a 9 to 5. You know, I live like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us to live, day by day. Right? That's how the Prophet lived. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. That's how the companions lived. And I'm not saying don't have a job. I'm not saying that. But I mean is the state of the heart. It ain't about what you're doing. It's where your heart's at. Because you could have a job, but you be attached to that job and you have failed. Right? If you have a job and you realize that your wealth comes from Allah and it can come and it can go, then you're going to have the same state if someone who didn't have a job and just relied on Allah. You realize that everything comes through Allah, not the employer. Right? It's the same concept. It's really about the connection, not actually what you're doing. And we should all develop to realize our risk, our sustenance comes from Allah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he's going to give it by any means he wills, not by what we think. And through the blessing of that connection, you'll find an increase. As the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, if you rely on Allah with true reliance, he will provide for you like he provides for the birds. They go out in the morning with their stomachs empty and they come back with them filled. SubhanAllah. Trust in Allah. But you got to have sound aqidah, sound belief in Allah to trust in him. Right? You cannot if you don't trust in Allah. You cannot. But you cannot trust in Allah if you don't know him. Right? you don't know Allah, you cannot trust Him. That's why the scholar said, أول واجب على العبد العلم بالله ورسوله ودينه. أول واجب على العبد, the first essential obligation upon the servant, and all of us, ibadullah, servants of Allah, al-ilmu billahi wa rasulihi wa dini. It is to have the knowledge about Allah, His messenger, and His religion, the deen of Islam. When you got that kind of knowledge, you are a protected saint. You are a blessed servant. You realize your state with Allah. You realize your station, that you are al-abd and Allah is al-rabb. You are the servant and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the Lord. And He's the one who's constantly training and nourishing and taking care of you all the time. You should pay attention to the babies. You should really focus in on the babies and watch how Allah manages their affairs and takes care of them. SubhanAllah, amazing. Right? Watch the babies. They just rely on Allah. They don't have the ability to do much. But Allah sustains them, takes care of them, and put the means for them, give them parents, give their parents wealth, and the parents can buy milk and clothing and everything, just giving them everything they need. And Allah does that to you as an adult. You're just foolish and sometimes think you're doing it, but it's not you. Your actions are figurative. The real doer is Allah. Al-fa'alu lima yurid. That's aqidah. The one who does whatever He will. Jami'ul khala'iki makruna bi qudratihi. All of the creation is subjugated by His power. Ya Qahhar, the one who subdues everything. Allah. So when someone asks me why aqidah, and my question is, that's saying why Allah. That's the state saying why Allah. And that means you need to fix it and realize that your connection to Allah is your actual lifeline. It is your lifeline. So the more you know about your Lord, the more you understand how to correctly perceive your Lord, the better your life will be, the easier your life will be. And I'm not telling you this from theory. I'm telling you this from practical, hard, rough experience. I'm not telling you from theory. Those who know me know I've been through it, a lot of stuff. But always, to every moment, and I watch my life. And you should watch your life. Everyone got their experience. Just reflect on your life. I know, subhanAllah, if it's not for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there is no way I would be doing what I'm doing right now. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is allowing me to share knowledge about Him to others. SubhanAllah. That is to show us, and I say for myself, don't never forget your Lord. And the way you forget your Lord is by not having constant remembrance and reflection and pondering on the signs of your Lord towards you. Each of us, Allah has given us distinctive signs to guide us towards Him. Through our lives, through our daily interaction with the world, Allah has given us signs all the time to come to Him. But we got to be smart and pick them up. You know, we got to be wise. But the way we're going to do that is the more we learn about Allah, the more we learn about Allah, the more we learn about the Islamic belief. Yesterday, one of my teacher students, and may Allah make him a great scholar. So when I say teacher students, he's become a teacher, but he was originally my student. And he's always, we always building together. He's, like a son to me, and a brother and a teacher all wrapped up in one. MashaAllah. And I have two of them like that. He sent me a lecture of a book that I love by one of the scholars that he knows, right? And I was listening to this lecture. So I know you're listening. I'm giving you some credits. Give me some credits here. I'm giving you some credits. But you will remain hidden, right? So he sent me this lecture, and I was listening to the lecture, and the scholar was talking about Aqidah. So he was talking about al-ilahiyat, al-nubuwat, al-sam'iyat, right? Al-ilahiyat, what is obligatory to Allah, to attribute to Allah, what is permissible to attribute to Allah, what is impossible to attribute to Allah among the attributes. Al-nubuwat, what is obligatory to attribute to the prophets, what is permissible to attribute to the prophets, and what is impossible to attribute to the prophets among the attributes. As-sam'iyat, those things which the Prophet salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi conveyed through revelation that cannot be understood solely or known solely by al-aql. Remember we talked about al-aql and al-naql, the intellect and the transmitted text. When we say as-sam'iyat, these are things that only we know through revelation. We don't just gather them through the sound mind, right? And among those things is adhab al-qabr wa na'imuhu, the punishment in the grave and its enjoyment. I want you to think about something. We know this because we believe in Allah. If we didn't believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there is no way we would know about the punishment and the enjoyment in the grave. I want you to reflect on this. Because that knowledge is only known through revelation. That means Allah sent down the Quran to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and he revealed to him the Sunnah, and the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam conveyed the Quran and the Sunnah, and in the Quran and the Sunnah, it tells us about the punishment in the grave and the enjoyments therein. That's the only way we know it, from our belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But that is the whole world, which is called the world of al-barzakh, the intermediate world between two stages, between this world and the hereafter. There's a whole life, al-hayyatul barzakhiyya, there is a life there. And he was talking about the torture in the grave, and someone asked, what about when there is nothing but, if someone burned the grave up and there's nothing but ashes and there's no body to be tortured, then it's not real. He said, it's really not about the grave, that ditch in the ground. Listen to this, this is deep. He said, it's really not about that grave, the ditch in the ground. Rather, it is a world called Al-Barzakh. It's a world called Al-Barzakh. So even if you're not in that grave, when you die, you enter that world. I said, Subhanallah. Subhanallah. Right? You enter the world of Al-Barzakh, Alam al-Barzakh. Right? And in that world, it is more vast than this world. And it lasts longer than this world. Think about it. Some people have been in the world of Al-Barzakh from the time of Sayyidina Adam, and it continues to the day of judgment. No one lives that long, but they live in the world of Barzakh. From Sayyidina Adam's time all the way to the day of judgment, whenever that will occur. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he told us that the life of his nation is between 60 and 70 years on average. The Barzakh, thousands of years may be for some of us. To the day of judgment. Dude, that's a whole world we better prepare for. And everything in it. And its determination, how we're going to live on that world, is how we obey the law in this world. So you got this short period of time, 50, 60, 70, 80 years, whatever law is giving you. Right? And you're in that world. Based on that little bit of time, you're going to be in that world, either in joy or maybe in torture. So the wise person would think about that. But you only know it because you believe in Allah. And you're not believing in Allah. That's why the people, they live in this world because they don't believe in Allah. They act like it ain't nothing but this. You got a whole world coming to you after this, before the everlasting journey to in paradise or in the hellfire. You got a whole world in between this world and the next called Al-Barzakh. SubhanAllah. But it relates to your belief in Allah that you even know about that. Think about it. Prepare yourselves. Don't waste your time. Connect to your Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala so that from this point on, your whole life and your life in Al-Barzakh and your life on the day of judgment, which is 50,000 years, and then hopefully, inshallah, your life in paradise forever. But you only got a short time to live for all that. That's why you should read the book Lives of Man by Imam al-Haddad. It is a book Imam al-Haddad wrote, radiallahu ta'ala anhu, called The Lives of Man. All of you should have that book. Every single one of you should read that book. It's important because sometimes we get lost and we don't understand the why. And the why is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah knows best. Let me take some of your questions. I just had that reflection, and it relates to what we're talking about in terms of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah, Ya Rabbi. Become attached to Allah. Fall in love with Allah. You'll be a winner. It's a guarantee. So that world has the same time zone. Allahu Alam, there's not time zones that I know of. We've never learned that in the Al-Barzakh. It's a world, and it has different aspects to it. But as for time zones, I don't know. But I'll tell you a secret, believe it or not, I'll tell you a secret. The life of the barzakh, especially for the righteous, their life, they are much more benefit than they were in this world. So if you benefited from the righteous in this world, in the barzakh, if you connect to them, the benefit is much stronger. It is much stronger. The spiritual world is much, much stronger than this physical world. There are barriers that block the souls in the physical world that don't exist in the barzakh. So if you have a connection to the righteous, to the Prophet ﷺ, and that word of al-barzakh is a great benefit for you. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, my life is good for you and my death is good for you. Don't think because the Prophet ﷺ is not in this physical world that he is actually dead. He has the life in the barzakh, which is more beneficial for the one who connects to him, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. No other questions? Good, mashallah. Today was a lack of questions. So, alhamdulillah. That's good. Inshallah, may Allah bless you all. We'll continue tomorrow, inshallah. Make dua for me and I make dua for you. Please continue to attend, inshallah. We have a lot of things to do, and I'm preparing a lot of things for the classes. Please make dua that Allah give me barakah in my time. I have so many things I want to do with you, but I just need time, inshallah. So may Allah make me use my time wisely, and may you use your time wisely. جزاكم الله خيرا وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته.